On, we have some more important and invigorating sessions ready for you. For the next session, which is themed at Revolutionizing Indian Banking and Fintech Ecosystem. This fireside chat will focus on insights and experiences in transforming the banking and fintech landscape in India. Let me introduce to you our guest, Vishal Kanvaty, CTO, NPCI. Vishal brings his expertise as the Chief Technology Officer of the National Payments Corporation of India. He will provide insights into the advancements and innovations that have revolutionized the Indian banking ecosystem, including the introduction of various payment systems and digital services. Can I have, please, Vishal on stage, please? Let's have a round of applause for Vishal. And this fireside panel will be moderated by Ibrahim Ahmad, Group Consulting Editor, CyberMedia. Ibrahim's expertise in the technology domain will ensure some interesting insights from this chat, and hopefully we can open some questions to the audience as well. Welcome, Ibrahim.
Good afternoon, friends, and a very warm welcome to Vishal. While I was coming to the conference this morning, I heard, on two occasions I heard on news as well as an advertisement about frauds which are happening in the online space, primarily related to finance and banking sector. So therefore, I think it's a very, very timely discussion that we are having. And it's indeed a privilege for us that we have somebody like Vishal, who is the CTO with NPCI, the organization which has created that platform on which all the Paytms and the Google Pays and all the Phone Pays work, and so many others. So several years back when we started talking about, we as a magazine as well as the industry, talking about digital commerce and digital banking and all that. It was, for many people, it was sort of unbelievable. For many people, the concern of security was a very, very big issue. But I think we have passed all those stages now. And digital commerce and digital banking is now something which is almost given, and you can go to any place. You can go to the top establishments, and you can go to the roadside hawkers, and you will find digital payment options available with them. Fortunately, the regulations are also mostly in place as far as this area is concerned. So with this little background, and this audience also, Vishal, is a very, very, very well-connected audience as far as this industry and these technologies are concerned. So it might be a good idea to delve into the future a little bit. What is it that we are likely to see in the coming days? And so I would like to start by asking you if you can give a very, very top-level overview of what is the fintech system in India currently looking like, some key statistics. And what, according to you, you guys have been doing phenomenal job, and I'm sure you also keep changing the goalposts. You get more and more ambitious, and you set bigger and more ambitious targets. So just share a little bit about what's the current status, and what for you guys, what are the next steps now? What are the next goals for you?
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for this opportunity to host me. And I think, NPCI success and whatever we see on UPI and other payments is very closely related to the growth of fintech in the country. I can't imagine achieving this scale without the support, especially from the fintech ecosystem. Obviously, banks play a very, very pivotal role. But I think the distribution challenge that we had, on the payment side is definitely something that the fintechs have supported and taken a huge burden, of the entire banking ecosystem. And the way I look at the current fintech ecosystem, I think payments, we see a lot of companies working on, payment products, payment ancillaries, customer experience, new age technologies, offline solutions. So we see a lot of variety of solutions on the customer experience to the merchant side, which are coming up. But I think it is going beyond that right now. I think payments gives us the backbone required for people to actually get into, let's say, something like lending, both on the consumer side as well as on the merchant side. We talked about the hawkers, that's a area where no one is able to give a very good solution for lending at the right price points. I think with the data that a lot of these companies have now, they would be in an ideal spot to do that. We also see, I think, one of the other aspects is how we have grown as a mobile digital economy. It's fantastic, and I think we see more and more people now doing everything on mobile. There's initially it used to be a branch, then internet. Now I think it's a mobile first sort of option that are coming up. So I think that's sort of revolutionizing everything that we are doing. And I think I see a lot of opportunities in the insurance sector. Recently we talked about one insurance for all requirements. I mean that's really ideal if you can get there, because today convergence that we talked about. And then the last one I see is on the wealth management, and with the Gen X that is coming up, millennials, these are the four sectors where I see a huge potential. And I think we are still at the tipping point. We are just starting on this journey, and it's a long way ahead to actually catch. One of the ambitions that NPCI has is underwrite every Indian. I mean, we used to say, give a payment instrument to all Indians. Now I think we need to go beyond, and unless we are able to create underwriting mechanisms for every Indian, we'll always have opportunities that are missed. So I see a great state at this point. As you said, rightly the regulator support, I would say quite visionary. We are taking a lot of steps which are like not been thought through. I think yesterday the FLDG statement is a very good step forward. So I think we are in the right direction, and I think there is a right support given, and we are thinking ahead. I think that's more important. I think, and the technology. I think the technology is really, the deep technologies that we have today should help us in the future in a long way.
So I think you have made a very, on behalf of NPCI, made a very bold and ambitious statement is about underwriting every Indian. I think it's a very forward-looking and a very positive statement when we are talking about inclusivity, getting every Indian along. Sabka saath, sabka vikas. When you say underwrite every Indian, what exactly do you mean?
See, today I think when any banks or any fintech, they want to lend to a customer, and I think that's where I think once if you're not able to lend to every citizen, it's an opportunity loss, right? I mean, the shopkeeper is not able to grow his business, and someone is not able to study ahead. So I think you cannot grow just on savings. You have to take risk to actually believe in the future and take steps that you have to get some loan from some entity, right? And one of the challenge that we have is only about 25 crores are credit card customers, and these are the people who have a credit score, and no one else has, right? I mean, people who are new to credit or who have never taken a loan, there is no way today the banks or fintechs can do this lending in a very cost-effective way. I mean, everyone can lend, but you also have to collect back, right? And unless you have the data and more information of the customer, and you have tools by which you can actually make sense of this data, you will not be able to do a very profitable model around this, right? So what we mean by underwrite every Indian is create mechanisms by which the ecosystem can actually do this process. Like the way we created the ecosystem, platform for people to do the payments like the UPI and RuPay card. I think a similar mechanism has to be there where we can do this credit at a very low value at a very, very nominal cost. I think that's essentially what we are targeting.
So some work is happening on those lines?
We are working, so we are trying to see like there's a lot of things that needs to come together, but it's really early days on that. But obviously the objective is to, we have taken that as one of the very ambitious goals. May not be in the next 2 to 3 years, but maybe a decade. We should be able to get with some platform to do that. I think we have now some platforms around account aggregators and those platforms which can enable this. But I think we have to maybe play a more catalyst role to actually take this to every Indian in the country.
Thanks, Vishal. I think it was a good opening introduction that you have given. What we want to do this afternoon is to make this a very interactive session so that it's not just a one-way monologue where we have Vishal only talking to all of you and addressing you. So we talked about what the next goal, the big dream goal for NPCI and the government of India is. Any remarks, any questions, any suggestions on that? Yeah, can we have the mic here, please?
Thank you, Ibrahim sir, and panelists from the NPCI for very nice discussion. Actually, I want to say that we have been hearing about this CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency, and the e-rupee from the RBI, Reserve Bank of India, Central Bank, for the last 1 year or couple of years. So actually, I want to say that like now 2,000 rupee notes have been, they are going to end. So discontinued, they are being discontinued. So why don't we have like, if we have the e-rupee and the CBDC already in operation, already in practice, already implemented, then I can have my 2,000 rupee note, I can have my identification number of 2,000, if I am having suppose couple of notes, 2,000 rupee, I can deposit it online, that this is my identification number, distinctive number, and then I can get the e-rupee or CBDC in lieu of that from the RBI. So online, this should be done. This can be done, and this is a suggestion from my side. It will make life easier for everybody, everyone around. Online, we are talking of technology and digital currency and e-rupee. So this is the way forward. Thank you.
Just as a remark, I think we are a little early in this stage. The CBD is still in a very, very early pilot stage. So once we see a lot of adoption, I think definitely a lot more can be done around that. And the whole objective of CBD is to, replace the physical cash that we have in the country. So we'll not maybe come to that stage where you would need to replace anything physical to digital.
Basically,
but yeah, I take your point. I think it's a good feature. But as I said, the CBDC is like, I think even RBI is today studying and understanding this. They would like to get more insights on how this can coexist and what's the real benefit that we can get out of. So it's an early pilot stage.
Basically, the concept is that the physical currency should be interoperable and portable with the digital
Absolutely.
currency.
Understood.
That is the point
Yeah.
I wanted to make. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, I think, as he said, that that is also a direction on which they are working, and I think that would be perhaps a very, very important milestone whenever we reach there. And it would be in stages. You talked about some of the startups that are working and enabling all this that we are seeing today. So what more do you think that the IT industry, the communications industry, the startup ecosystem, the government of India, what more do you think that they should do, they can do to enhance the impact of the fintech, Indian fintech ecosystem?
So I think a couple of points around this. I think the first one is, on UPI we have about 350 million users, who are onboarded onto the system, and
so 1,000 more to go, 1,000 million more to go.
Or at least another 600, 700 million people who are eligible. If I remove the people who don't have a bank account or
who are children,
less than 18 years, right? I think we still have about 700 million population who is still not active on mobile payments, right? And I think one of the key aspects that, I would say the startups and everyone, I mean, startups, government, even our focus is on that is how do I create awareness for this product so that they don't fall to, I mean, you talked about the frauds happening. That's one of the key reasons why, it's one of the key challenges that we also always try to, see how I can overcome that. And this challenge is, fraud is like not like traditional fraud where people do a lot of effort, right? They, like in the cards world, they actually used to clone a card and everything. But in the UPI world, it's basically if they can get hold of the person and gain his trust, the person shares everything, right? So this awareness is something that is totally lacking today. I mean, when I talk about the 700 million people, if this is the case with the 300 that we have, 350 million that we have, imagine if we get to that 700 million, and those people who are still not that educated, what would be the state? And this is hard-earned money of people, right? So I think that's one area I think where we really need to focus, create real awareness, to the last person in this country, and also we have seen a lot of these frauds are happening because people are just falling prey. They're just being social engineered, and they share everything. So not sharing, or getting suspicious about sharing your OTPs, sharing your card numbers, or any of these details, right? I mean, is so fundamental to every person. I think that awareness is there. I think the second thing that I think we really need to focus is, I think the technology is going to play a very, very important role on the payments and whole banking. I think UPI has been able to scale so much. We are roughly about 15,000 transactions per second today, is only because we have invested in the technology. We have open source technologies that we have been working on. I think that's a consistent effort that the ecosystem needs to do. I think I see a lot of potential in the deep tech space, where startups can really, invest or, do a lot of R&D work around that, because there are a lot of opportunities in that. Today also I don't have a good solution to do offline solution. I still need the internet to do the payments. Identifying the fraud patterns, identifying behavioral patterns. I think there is the technology that we have today, and what we have seen in the in other countries. I think that is an area where I think we really need to get comfortable and really need to put a lot of efforts in that direction.
So awareness was one and technology
Technology
is the
investments.
other one. Yeah.
Deep tech investment.
Deep tech primarily. Yeah. Any questions or any? Yeah, there are two questions. Yeah.
Well, the thing is that nowadays even the small vendors, the vegetable vendors, nobody wants to take cash.
Yes.
It's all digital payments. So how do you see the future of actually physical currency, and particularly in lieu of the fact that it's mainly being used for keeping as black money? Do we really need this physical currency after?
Yeah, from a NPCI and RBI perspective, I don't think we'll obviously say we don't need, but I think the reality is that there is the cash is also growing in the economy. So it's not like after digital payments are taken over, the cash has been is coming down in the circulation, in spite of all the efforts.
No, the reason I mentioned this is that there were apprehensions a few years back that if we have digital payments, how will the small vendors and other people
Yes.
be a part of it?
Be a part of
But
it,
it's just the reverse. It's only the high-end people who have to do transactions in the other possible ways
Yep.
that they need cash. Who needs cash? Yeah.
I agree. I think. See, as I said, we are getting there. We are fully not there. I understand the point that you made on the who needs cash, but I think if you go to a lot of the rural areas, there's a lot of ground to cover there.
No, rural areas also, people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
using digital transactions.
I know, but
I
we
have got
still,
a practical experience of that.
yeah, yeah, it's still a long way. I would say India is a vast country, so we have to get there. I think we'll get there with all the efforts that we are putting, all of us are putting on that. But I agree. I think uh, cash will coexist. I think it's a complementary payment system that we will have. For
So it's still a long way, and
long
we are still seeing new notes being printed and new coins
no
coming
coins
out.
coming.
So.
And people will take time to get comfortable. I think there's that awareness, and I think the simplicity and convenience that cash provides, no other payment system can do that. Because it's
But at the same time, I have seen a lot of establishments who don't want to use this also. They say cash ho to de dijiye sahab.
hota hai. I mean, that's what I'm saying, right? India is a very, very complex and
But
vast
that
country.
needs to be discouraged. Why should people ask for cash?
See, I mean, we have a lot of regulations today which says, you should accept digital payments. But end of the day, you can't stop the person on the ground, right? I mean, you have to discourage, I agree. But, I think this is slowly a practice where people will realize, see, when we started with UPI and the QRs, right, we saw the same resistance initially. But when people saw the benefits, and how they're benefiting with the business, I think it has to be an organic growth. It cannot be pushed down someone's throat on this, right? So I think we will have, I think even RBI said this many times, we will move into a less cash society, not a cashless society, So, and that's the nature of the country that we are, it's an evolution that we have to go through at this point.
There's one more question, please, here. Can we? Yeah.
Yeah, actually, going to answer of the first question earlier, I'm personally very impressed and overwhelmed by the thought that you have a plan for underwriting every Indian. So a corollary question to that, because the lending happens in the range of 8% per annum to 24% per annum, are there any plans for the weaker sections of the society to make lending affordable? Just a thought.
Yeah. No, I think that lending will get affordable when we reduce the cost of lending. Today banks or any entity gives a higher percentage because, giving a 10,000 rupee loan for anyone is, KYC cost, getting the person details, onboarding cost is so high. So obviously they will say, okay, this cost will go down, the interest cost will have to be recovered, right? So I think once we do this in a very, very seamless way and reduce the cost of onboarding and KYC, and create a way by which we can reduce, delinquency. I think once all of these costs are reduced, automatically the lending cost will come down. So I think we need to work towards that.
Yeah, I think this is a question, both of these questions are, which can sort of go on and on, because we are still in the sort of evolutionary and growing stage. So we can take it offline if we want, but I would like to move on to the next question. And you talked about security. So how are we countering threats? What kind of security threats are you seeing, and how are we countering them? Because it's said that the guys who are breaching security, they're always one step ahead of what the technologies and practices are.
Yep. I think the cyber security is one area which we invested a lot. It's one of our big challenges as well. While we have framework in which we connect only to the banks, I think there are various ways by which the cyber attacks can happen. Like, it can be as simple as someone connecting USB into the laptop and then, we are done. So I think the way we do a lot of these things is, obviously we have very, very strict security mechanisms. I mean, my laptop is completely useless. I can't do anything outside my office. That's a way. So, but there is a lot of tools that we have invested, and I think this is a more of a common sense, that we need to create awareness with everyone, employees as well, where I think it's important for person to understand why certain rules are there, why, how the secure coding practices are there. So it has to be a cultural shift that has to be there, and importance of this. I think one thing that I've seen at NPCI, and even RBI has given guidelines on the, the IT outsourcing vendors and what needs to be there. I think it's an area which has been underappreciated by everyone, and this is where I think the weakest link is the weakest in the whole chain is what is required. You don't need to attack the strongest party in this. Only like even one cooperative bank who is not adhering to any of this will have. So we need to invest very, very heavily. There are very stringent guidelines that has been given for all the banking ecosystem players. We need to be very careful, while onboarding, and also create this awareness to, I mean, someone talked about the employees and technology, how they're related, and you need to keep that angle. I think it goes down to that. People need to be really educated on. Today we give a lot of educations around technologies, but why it is required to be doing safe, playing safe when it comes to downloads or watching anything, right? I think you have to have a separate. You need to separate these two. You can't have an office laptop. Even connected at airport. You can't charge there. Anything can happen with that, right? So there are so many opportunities, so many loopholes that are there. And the only way you can solve this is constant. You have to constantly be at it, constantly keep monitoring it. We have huge team just looking at, because it's like anything happens, NPCI is the target. There's some challenges on the border. We see a lot of attacks happening on our websites, on our servers. So I think it's an area which needs to be appreciated. People really need to focus on this, because one weakling is enough. I think we will be in trouble.
Yeah. So on this security aspect, any comments or any questions from the audience? Because as he said, that security is very, very critical, and the network is as secure as the weakest link. So I just wanted to ask you, how are you making sure that your banks and your partners are sort of being compliant, and what kind of standards have you set for them?
So I think the first one is we don't, so we are completely on zero trust model. So we don't, even when we connect to the banks, we have our switch at the bank end, and that only we can monitor or control. So that way, whatever we are doing, we monitor it regularly. So so that's a fundamental philosophy. Say zero trust. We are not going to, even if it's the largest bank in the country, we will keep only our equipment, and we will constantly monitor. So we constantly monitor the traffic that comes up along that, and there's a huge team which keeps on looking at all the traffic, any vulnerabilities, everything keeps on getting tracked. Every transaction is encrypted and completely monitored. So this is how we monitor the periphery. We also have a audit that we keep on doing with the banks, and there is a CISO forum of all the banks where we constantly talk about what are the threats that are coming up and what is that is required to be done at a ecosystem level to monitor that. So any time we get any alerts around, okay, these are the countries where we see some traffic coming, some activity that's happening, that information is completely shared with all the banks and with all the partners. And we have very strict policy for onboarding. So any third-party app has to necessarily go through all the checks that is there, and we constantly do this check every 6 months. And any app that comes up with any wrong information, we keep on monitoring and taking down. So there is, as I said, there is one area which is of real importance and focus is cybersecurity, and a lot of investments are being put in. There's a monitoring team 24/7 which keeps on doing that. So and we keep taking the inputs from certain and other institutes.
Yeah.
Even I think this industry is works only on collaboration. So anything that is found anywhere, it gets known to everyone.
So you spoke a little early, you spoke about awareness, increasing awareness. So are there some awareness campaigns or programs that NPCI itself is working on?
Yeah.
So can you share a little bit about that?
We have a huge digital marketing team which works on creating the videos, and we share. You must have heard a lot of the campaigns coming on radio that we have started. And this one, the UPI awareness campaign that we are doing is in collaboration with banks. So we didn't want to just do it ourselves. We got all the banks together, and we all invested in this campaigns now. And this will scale up. So we have both the ATL marketing that's happening, also the
ATL.
and YouTube and all the digital marketing that's happening. And we constantly also work on the complaints that we get. So there is a social media team that monitors all the complaints that are being raised, and then we act upon it.
So one of the things that we have heard over the last several years is about the lack of awareness and understanding of the law enforcement agencies themselves as far as ensuring that cybercrime is reported correctly and action is taken upon it. So have you seen some change there, or you think that it's like hitting your head against the wall when you try and go and report a matter, nothing really happens?
No, I think we have seen a lot of the law enforcement agencies being more active now. So they're trying to work with us to get more details about the transactions, more details about the fraud line. I think the challenge is the regulations, the laws needs to be still more stricter there, because I think I'm not an expert, but I think that's an area where we see even after the FIRs is filed and everything, we don't see follow through action, and it takes significant time, right? So I think the point I'm making here is, I think the people need to be scared of the law, because doing this is quite easy, but
There's no fear of law then.
on that, then they will keep on doing. And we saw one area coming up, but now we see a lot of these areas coming up all over the country. We have seen some people doing this in Kerala, Rajasthan, and it's spreading because people now think, and we tend to believe that this is an industry now. It's an industry. Fraud is becoming an industry where they're also quite sophisticated. They know what are the rules that we have put in our systems. Which are the transactions that can get declined. So it's a huge concern. I think we need to have strong deterrence on this. But I would appreciate that we see now the law enforcement playing more very active role. They are coming forward. They are asking a lot more questions. We are having a lot of system integrations between us, so that the data can be shared in a near real time with them. And we can at least stop the fraud happening in some of the accounts.
Before we move on to the next 3-4 questions, there are any comments or any observations or any questions? Can we have the mic here, please?
I have Ibrahim sir and Vishal. I have the question, as Ibrahim sir have started that when he was coming here, he was listening some fraud news.
Can you keep the mic closer?
Yeah, it was, there was some fraud news you have listened in the coming on the way. That was, I think, definitely it was from the online or something that ki mobile se paise le liya ya kuch kar diya. And now someone was saying कि भाई cash का फ्यूचर क्या है. तो दोनों चीज़ें जो हैं आज के टाइम में as very critical. If we have cash in our hand, we feel very strong with us. कि I am very strong. Nobody is here who has not having the cash. Everybody have some cash in their pocket, so they feel something secure. And someone have only the payments in the accounts, they manage. So both things are very necessary nowadays. But when we say about the fraud, my one relative has got frauded around 2 lakh rupees, and nothing was happened till now. So in that case, is there any major security or major compensation to be given for that from the bank or someone? Because if someone has lost, so NPCI anything is doing for that or any?
So here is an aggrieved user, so yeah, consumer.
No, I think the RBI guideline is very, very clear. So if it is not a user's mistake, then he's bound to get the refund into his account. So I think RBI also have ombudsman if that doesn't happen today. So if the bank doesn't refund, but you have to prove that it is, you haven't shared any of this.
He has not received anything and no support also.
Sorry?
He has not received anything and no support also from the bank. So they are just searching, only FIR has happened. Nothing has been done.
No, see, I'm saying as long as it's not due to the negligence of the customer, and if it's due to system failure or system mistake, he will get the refund. And if not, you can obviously go to the RBI ombudsman on that. They are very, very active and they take every case very seriously. And I've seen where they have come back to us, asking the details, and they are working on it. But you have to prove that, you have not been part of a negligence from your side. So that stance is very clear. I think we also do that, where we coordinate with the banks to get the refund if the person is not at fault. So it's a standard procedure that we have.
Yeah, can we have the mic there, please?
Can I have the mic over here?
So that's very reassuring. I think what Vishal is saying is that unless the mistake has been from the consumer side, the account holder side, the bank will most probably pay.
Has to give.
Has to pay.
Has to give.
And if you're still not satisfied, then you can approach the RBI ombudsman.
Ibrahim, sir, a question over here.
Hi, my name is Anurag Agrawal from Data Block Technologies. One thing I would like to point out, what my friend just pointed out, that wherever we have technology, there would always be chances that something might go wrong. We need to accept that.
Yep.
Security would always be a challenge. It cannot be 100% proof at any point in time.
Agree.
Right? The other thing is that, which I wanted to say is that I'm all for NPCI and digital payments and all those kind of things. But we need to understand that as more digital payments come into the system, government is trampling on the security and privacy of the citizens, right? The government has no reason to know where I'm spending my 2,000 rupees or 1,000 rupees. And that is not possible if we have NPCI and all these kind of digital payments, right? So cash has to be there in the system. We cannot let go of cash at any particular point in time. So we need to understand that there's a privacy of citizens involved out here. Each and every transaction, government has no right to track it and know where and how we are spending our money. Thank you.
Yep. No, completely agree with you on that.
He's asked a very debatable, a question which has been raising a lot of debates. But I think the question is that because of privacy, because of security, information security and security of the networks, etc., is the consumers, is the citizens' privacy being compromised? And where do you see the future? Will you see more, the government asking for more information about me to keep me safe?
So I think this is, as I said, it's a very debatable topic, right? I mean, if I am so concerned about privacy, I should not be having a smartphone. Point. I think there's no need for us to have a smartphone. I should go back to my feature phone and continue with that, right? If you have a smartphone, then I think Google knows more about you than the government. And whom do you trust on this? And I think, very honestly, I think the government would only be worried about if your taxes and your payments are matching. They don't want to know what you're doing with your money. That's my honest opinion, but I don't want to go beyond that at this point. But I think if we are honest taxpayers, I don't think we need to be worried.
Yeah, Ibrahim, I have a question over
Yeah,
here.
there's a, yeah, please.
Yeah,
Can
we have been talking about UPI, which has to be used with the awareness, right?
Sorry?
UPI has to be used with the awareness.
UPI
There should not be any carelessness in using the UPI.
Yes.
There is a greater question about usability and being anti-fragile. See, we designed a system. It has to be anti-fragile.
We could not make out what you just said, sir.
Yeah, the UPI, the system is designed in such a way that it has to be anti-fragile, that no fraud should happen. So are we saying that if the frauds are happening, the system is not a fragile, is not anti-fragile, it is a fragile system? Because no matter whatever kind of awareness you do, but still somewhere you happen to come and lose the money and the fraud is happening.
Yeah, but if the
I'm giving you an instance. I'm giving you a very simple instance. Someone is calling in a conference to a group of doctors that your DMA registration number is pending. Can you do some transaction? And they lose the money, and within half an hour, 27 lakhs is evaporated. They go to 1930, there is no help. They go to bank, there is no help. So what can a common man do in such a anti-fragile, in such a fragile system?
No, I don't think it's a system problem. Actually, that can happen in any payment system, right? If you are making a payment willingly, I'm scanning a QR code and I'm making a payment, whatever checks we put in place is not going to stop that. There are, today we do about 300 million transactions. We get about 1,000 fraud reports.
In 300 million transactions, about
1,000 frauds that are getting reported. Right? These are frauds reported where people are disputing the transactions. Okay, these are not frauds where people have, like, someone has hacked into my phone and taken a transaction. They have willingly made the payment they have scanned a QR, they have entered the PIN, they have shared the OTPs. Everything has been done. So if a person calls, and these are well educated. I mean, there are a lot of population where educated.
Sir, you are talking about the frauds, 1,000 happening in a day?
Yes.
In an hour?
In a day.
It is in an hour?
No.
That many frauds are happening and they are going unreported. If I am saying that in half an hour, 27 doctors, they lose the money, then how many frauds are happening in a day? How many police stations are there in Delhi, in NCR? That many frauds are happening.
See, we'll go with what has been reported to us because we can't go to everyone and say there's a fraud or not, right? But as I said, I think this is, we have to strengthen the systems, but we also have to create awareness, and that's the only solution that I can see. If people do share the data, I think we will have this challenge going forward.
So I think the point is that in 300 million transactions a day, if there are a couple of thousand frauds happening, then it's unlikely that the system is going to be disbanded. Most probably people will try and find out ways and means of improving the system because 300 million people are benefiting from the system. But anyway, as it's a long debate, and as we all know that technology is something which the people who want to use it for frauds and all, they are also leveraging it and using it. So one of my last questions this afternoon is that we were talking about it earlier. So what are your desired level of inclusivity, and how do you think we are going to achieve that?
No, I think we would like, as I said, our ambition, I would say, ambition is to touch every Indian, right? We would like to, onboard every Indian onto the payments platform. That's an ambition, but we would at least like to reach about 60-70% of the population with one of our payment systems and create a robust system. We would definitely like to strive for that with everyone cooperation.
Okay. So with your permission, I have one more question is that India, you said, has got 40% of the world's digital transaction happening out of India. So that's huge. I don't think there is any other area where India is leading in with such a margin. So can India become the world's leading fintech superpower, which is sort of in line with the Mission India 2047?
Definitely. I don't see, I have no doubt that we can't do it. Obviously, it's a long way. We have to put a lot of efforts. We are already, I think last year has been the largest, where we got the funding, largest funding 2022-23, we got the largest funding for fintechs. And I think we are on the way. We need to invest a lot on the deep technologies. I think that is going to be a differentiator going forward. We also at NPCI look as ourselves as a technology company and not just a payments company working on it. But because that's the future that will drive. We have seen so many emerging technologies, DLT, AI, ML, AR, VR. Yesterday we saw how the future will change. So I think we are in the right horizon at this point, but a lot more work needs to be done.
Okay, thanks a lot. Well, this brings us to the end of this very, very interactive and informative session. And I think in this entire discussion, Vishal talked about deep technologies a couple of times. So that's one area that we must watch out for. And there will be a lot of deep tech that we will see in the financial inclusion, not just in the country, but all over the world. Thank you so much once again, and thanks a lot for asking all those questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, gentlemen.